Hello, friends. Today I'm going to talk about emptiness, egos, materialism, everything people think that they need, what is actually inside them, and how this is a factor in my feelings towards other people and who I associate with. Plus, there's a couple other things I was going to talk about too, about narcissism. And I've been thinking about my own personality and how narcissism talk or any kind of videos where they're talking about narcissism, it can be skewed massively. So I'm going to talk about that too. So, ego. How's a life going for someone that has concern for status, social status, materialism, trophy, accolades, the validation of these things? So ever since they were a little kid, their dopamine in their mind was always filled up. Their good feelings in their minds were always filled up with receiving something that they can show off as worth, their self-worth. So a female or a male that's going around with a genetically born attractive body, who doesn't have to do a whole lot, who gets a gold medal for bodybuilding or a gold medal for bikini, and they were eating a hamburger before the show, and then a person who's, say, 300 pounds is not even at the show at all. They're not even on the stage. They're in a completely different realm in life. And yet society has marketing tricks, and they get people to think that if they take in this kind of protein, or if they use this kind of makeup, because that's what so and so uses, the mind plays tricks on you. So there's the idolizing. So say Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's all the people that are going to idolize him. So there's all the marketing people that used him, and there's the movies where they used him to send certain kind of messages across to society using him. And then there's the ego. So he can go around and he can say to himself, the truth is, I was born with this body and his mind. I was born with the capability of being able to do this. Now apply that toward your materialism and all the things that you have in life and your social status and all the ways that people manipulate to get where they're at in life. And laying in bed and saying to themselves, I'm so wonderful. I'm a great person. And if they're going around buzzing on that, well, what's the problem? What's the problem with that? How about truth? So I've seen a lot of bodybuilders who will say that the reason that their biceps are big is because they do a lot of spider curls, or they massage their muscles in between, or they take this kind of powder or whatever. Now, a lot of times it does seem that they're actually thinking that this is the reason. And I know very well that none of that has minute for the reason. They were born with the ability to be able to do that. That's ego. That's where the mind has filled you up with crap. So how about everything else in life where you're filling your life up with things in your mind? And if you were to take all those things away from that person, what do they have left inside of their mind? Do they have anything else inside of their heads about themselves that they can identify themselves with? I was watching a video on here. A female was talking about her dating and how it wasn't going well for her. She was probably about 35 to 40, frustrated because she's at a point in her life where her looks are going down, and now it's getting more difficult for her. And she was saying that she's tired about guys asking her if she has a hobby, because she doesn't have any kind of hobbies. She doesn't have anything in her life other than her dating action that she's been doing her whole life, and now it's fizzling out on her. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm saying. Where, say you're in a relationship with someone and they leave and you put all your marbles into them and they're gone, and then you feel empty. So this is kind of a point of what I'm getting at. If you fill your life in your head with garbage, and you never really thought for yourself, ever, at all, and you always listened to what TV told you, or you always thought that the actual information that you got in elementary was information that was to be something good for your life or whatever. How about now in your life? Is any of that information doing anything for you at all? Is any times in your life where you were fed something by other people, or they handed you those gold trophies when you were a little kid, or they gave you little kindergarten diplomas that you've actually done something? Well, you're already getting into that. You're already being trained. You're already being conditioned to realize that you don't have much worth unless you have these credits, or unless you have money. I was watching a Billie Eilish interview, and it was her Vanity Fair 5-year annual checkup thing. And so they show for 5 years her difference. So one of the main things they were bringing up was her, at the very beginning, was her reading off her Instagram follower number. And so anyone, especially young people that are going to be watching that, how's that going to make a young person feel? It's going to make them think that they've got to do to get those numbers, or else no one's going to really give a shit about them. Are they going to get to be special? Are they going to get to be Billie Eilish? Supply and demand. They're only going to grab so many people to be a Billie Eilish. These certain kinds of people. Or what's the boy's name? It's not coming to mind. There's a kid. Look at their lives. Look at their I see that they're using drugs, and I see that they're on autopilot. Because I know this, because I was born with the brain to be empty. Beyond. I can identify with this emptiness. He's born with it. I see success, and then I see the same people that were successful 10 years later or whatever, and I see sadness. Or I see them alone. Even with all that success, how are you going to know that anyone gives a shit about you? And that's another thing I saw. I don't remember what the video was. It was something about, I was reading something about a psychologist, what they were saying, what rich people tell them usually. And one of the main things that rich people complain about to a psychologist or a therapist that just listens to you is that they don't know whether or not anyone gives a shit about them because of the money or not. So they don't know. So they feel detached from people, and they don't know if they even want to bother with any kind of relationships of caring, just for that reason alone. So you're going to have the same thing with people that are extremely attractive society-wise, where everyone's following you around because you are attractive, they want you. How are you going to know who loves your heart, or they just want your body? So if you fell back on that your whole life, and more sad for little kids that were born into stardom or fame that didn't really know better, and their parents just said, okay, this would be great, and then usually by the time they're older, they're saying that it was hell, that they'd rather that their life was never that way. Take a look at Macaulay Culkin. He went through drug issues. He went through whatever. And he still looks like he's wanting to get away from the hell of it. He rarely comes into the spotlight. Rare anymore. He can if he wanted to. Look at some of the people that are still going at it. And I see sadness. I see misery. I see Johnny Depp, who's coming on videos where he's doing public things that's still on video. It's not private. Where he's meeting up with people that have cancer children or whatever, and he's showing up and he's drunk and he's slurring, and that's to me, that's sad, because I know as an alcoholic the sadness of the escape. So here he is, he's doing something to make himself and other people feel better by doing public things, charity type things, and he's showing up to these things drunk. That's emptiness. How are you going to really know and identify with yourself unless there's, if you're sticking with these things, or you're attracted to these things that fill you up, that do lead to emptiness? What about the things that you can do in your life that are going to be not so empty later on? And that's my lifelong, until I'm dead, the thing to think about always. What's best in life? What is good in life? What am I going to go toward? What am I going to stay away from? Is my compassion going to lead me to heartache, which it has? Or is my mood swings where I can be apathetic, is that going to ruin relationships? It does, and it has, and it will. So since I have these times where I can be cold, it's basically shut off, basically. Or I'm extremely weary or suspicious of something, and I'm saying to myself that I'm not handling this. So I overload, and then I shut off. And then a person that's feeding on me is not getting that anymore. Well, I know that if I come around and I explain my position to them and they don't understand, and especially if I wasn't pretentious and I explain it from the get-go, which I do, and they still stay around, if they go away, then I know that it's regardless of anything, it's not meant, it's not going to happen, the relationship's not going to happen, because they're not going to be understanding enough. So I've got to up my understanding by double or triple of their situation. So it seems to me that I've got to give more to them, because I've got to make up for my shortcomings by my born with mental health that I am not going to apologize for. What I do is I apologize for any pain or any kind of discomfort that they may have felt, and I will convey that to them, because I do feel that. I'm not going to apologize for what I was born as. It's not going to happen. And I'm doing all I can to not judge others who fall short of being there for me and saying that they're a horrible person, and if they just go away or whatever, I have to swallow it and say to myself, we're not together if we're not together. If we're not friends together anymore, we're just not friends anymore. And I could be hard on myself all day, and it's not going to do me much good. So then I'm watching these videos about narcissism, and I'm really questioning all the time who I am. Is there anything that I can do to make myself better for other people, so that way I can make other people happy? And when I watch the narcissism videos, I notice that there are things that pop up where I'm saying, uh-oh, yeah. And then I think about it a little more, and I'm thinking, hang on a second. If people are selective about the people that they want to be around, or they have self-esteem about certain things in their life or whatever, or things like that, that can be skewed. That can be skewed. Everyone does that. I mean, if someone has low self-esteem, they're vulnerable to using drugs and predatorial type people coming in and doing horrible things with their lives and manipulating them. All that can be skewed. So then you've got to think for yourself, and you've got to ask yourself, okay, am I a compassionate person? Do I actually do things for people? And when I'm thinking about myself, I'm saying, yes. I could be extremely compassionate. I could be extremely passionate towards another person. Maybe too much. One of the other things they were saying was the high need for admiration. That can get skewed in my mind, because that admiration is the constantly needing to be pumped up by something, and that is a social status type thing. I'm isolated. I'm not going out and poking at people. Hey, have you noticed that I've done this? Did you know about me? Do you know who I am? Hey, listen to me about me. I'm going to talk to you for a little bit. Listen to me about me all the time. That'd be a little different. That'd be that admiration that you have to have, or the status. So I've got to differentiate inside of my mind admiration or care, that they actually care about you, that they actually just love you, or they seem that they love you and they mean it, or a friend, that they're an actual person that values a true feeling in life, and not necessarily a just the feeling. All the things that are attached to the feelings, to identify what's attached to the feelings. On the opposite side of that is a person that needs real fast, and they're not going to go through they're not going to go through not feeling good. They don't want to go through any kind of not feeling good. And to me, I'm not so sure that that's considered a narcissist type person. If that's at the front and center of their mind all the time, is that they have to feel good all the time. So this is if they're not feeling good, they're gonna go straight to drugs or alcohol, or they're gonna go straight to someone else that will make them feel good. And they have they're short-sighted about what they've got to do to have a more constant, healthier way in life of getting a good feeling. So let me give you an example. You're not feeling good. You just met someone. They've done something. You do not feel good. So instantly you're saying to yourself, okay, I've got to go get drugs right now. Just doesn't matter. I don't care about the situation. I'm not going to think about the situation. I'm not going to think about the other person. I'm just going to go get high right now. This, however this is categorized in the whole thing, this is unhealthy. If I say, all right, this person's lying to me all the time, and I've known them for a little bit, and they're using certain words, and they're telling me this or telling me that, and I sense that they are lying, and I'm noticing certain things that are affirmations of their lying, then they're hurting me. They're making me feel bad because I realize that, to me, it feels impersonal. It's an impersonal feeling that they're lying to me. That makes me feel as if I'm not a future person for them. And this is where a person can use you for the feeling that they can get from you on that short-sighted, shallow, in that area. And even if there's things that they like about you, because they're sticking around, I mean, obviously there's things that they like about you. It's not healthy. It's not going to do something for you later on. So say they don't know, they never really figured out in life what they've got to do to have a good feeling without all these things. So what's the issue with them going out and getting the drugs because they don't have a good feeling? Those drugs are gonna wear your body down. And sadly, society has pictures of Billie Eilish with her boyfriend now, I don't remember his name, who clearly looks like he's using heroin and all kinds of drugs. And then young people see this, and they see Billie Eilish in her video drinking the black stuff, and they see sadness, and that's attached to cool. And these are young, impressionable minds that are possibly in this area of not knowing anything other to get that good feeling other than to go and do these things. And it makes it that much more appealing when they see people that they idolize doing it as well, and knowing that they do it. And every 5 days there's something that they can read on media type stuff to know what other people are doing. Oh, so-and-so's in rehab. so and so broke up with this guy, so and so's this, so and so's that, and you have no idea if any of that information is valid. You don't know if any of any of these relationship media news things are true. All they got to do is say, okay, we're going to put this relationship together, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then you can put the rest together in your mind why they are going to want that. Because it's big business. There's a lot of product going around out there, and they are going to need ways to tell you that this is what they want you to do without directly telling you to do it. It can get skewed with if you BPD, bipolar, schizophrenia, any of those, any at all, depression, where your personality is always on the line and you're having to claw every day to get a little bit of feeling without hurting other people, without using other people for short relationships that you can constantly turn through, which is always tempting in life. A male can do it, a female can do it, and if you are doing that, you are hurting other people. If you're getting to know people and then you get away from someone because it's not good, are you a horrible person because you needed to get away from someone that was lying to you and all that? It's going to mess with your head. It's going to mess with your feelings. The shame and guilt, or the did I leave them hanging? And if you spent all these years where you didn't go out and do that and prey on people that way, and you kept yourself in lots of times where you were alone and you didn't get that feeling of love from anyone because you weren't gonna go do that and screw people over, that if I was to meet someone, always I let them know up front quite a bit, and then they go away because it's not something that they want to mess with. That's the human selection process, is making sure to protect yourself, that you're not even messing with people that are messed up in the first place. So it makes sense that people want to pass on people like myself, or that I'd want to pass on someone who's lying all the time and using drugs. Because I basically already know that if they're not in a point in their life where they're openly admitting that they're a drug addict or an alcoholic, or openly admitting that they have issues with something or anything, if they're just clear as can be and they have nothing to tell you, and you say, hey, is there anything that you can tell me? Is there anything that you're not telling me? No. And everything that they're telling you is just innocent all the time, all the way down the line. I'd call that a problem, a big problem. I'd call that playing the angel. So you can always share too much at the beginning and scare people off, and it's not necessary to do that. I think that it rolls out, though. You roll it out and you let them know. You let them know. And get to that point where you want to know yourself about them, instead of letting them give you the detour every 5 seconds or evading all the time. Then you got to know that they're not looking or in a position in their life where they're looking for something other than just feeding off of you for a short amount of time. So that does apply very much to ego, self and self-awareness and feelings, and how you go about every single day to get those feelings, those good feelings in life. How do you know how to live? How do you go on to the next day and the next day and next day? And can you sit there with a horrible feeling of depression and not go to drugs and not go to alcohol and not go to chat rooms to do an instant relationship with someone to feel good and then to throw them away? Or rebound. I've heard this a lot of times, the rebound thing, where you go out as fast as possible and you get yourself a friend real fast, have sex with them, get real loving, and since it was so fast and you didn't really care who they were, of course you're going to leave them. So now you just hurt that person's feelings. So shit rolls downhill. You're this poison that's everywhere in humanity. It's just being relayed to more and more people. And that's something that in the pits of depression and everything, those are things that I can say to myself. Those are things that I do not do. Those are not things that I partake in life. I've been isolated. I've been alone, and it has eaten me up. And I realize that if I was to have done all these things, I'd be worse off than where I am right now. So it's just shitty that my brain is this way. And if I was to go and do all those things, I'd be worse off right now. I'd have my conscience would be telling me more of horrible things I've done, because my mind does that anyways. People I've screwed over. And I've said to myself hundreds of times in my mind, thousands of times, that I will not go into any relationship where I know that I'm going to hurt their heart. I do not want to go into any kind of relationship at all, fully knowing that I have no future with this person, ever. And sadly enough, when I was a younger guy and I had met someone and had sex with them fast, I was always thinking in my mind the possibilities of being with this person. So it got to the point fast that I'd be with someone and they are clearly someone that I have sex with, and I got to the point where I was saying in the flesh, when I was alone with them, saying to myself, this is not a person that I'll be with. So I already know that if I have sex with them, then the feelings start to accumulate, and then I know there's the possibility that I'll be, oh, okay, well, even though there's this and even though there's that, well, I'm already setting myself up for a possibility of hurting myself, and especially, more than myself, hurting them. Because that's not what I'm wanting to do. And even if they convey to me that they say that they're only looking for sex, let me give you an example. There was one gal that I knew probably about, it was maybe about 10 years ago. We had met. And she was affectionate, and she had never in her life had any kind of physical contact with anyone. So she was about 30-something. And I knew this because when she went to go do anything, she did not know what she was doing. She didn't know how to kiss. She didn't know how to do anything. I had to show her how to do all these things. And I was okay with that, because I'm open and I can get into people as long as I can say it inside of my mind that yes, I can possibly be with this person. There's got to be that first, or else I just close off and I just leave. She was telling me that she didn't want to have a relationship. She only wanted to have sex. So she's putting it inside of my mind that she doesn't want to do these things. So I go ahead and I go with that. So I'm not allowing myself to go any further inside of my mind because she's saying that's what she wants. Well, what ended up happening was she got upset with me because I wasn't going that way with her. And I even let her know. I said, you said that you didn't want to go that way. So that's why it's important to be straight up with people from the get-go, from the very beginning. You got to be straight up with people. So that way you're not spinning your wheels. So that way you're not hurting other people. And you're not going to hurt yourself, as in that situation. Well, the good thing is, she didn't write back after that. So I don't even think that she was that serious herself. She just never had any relationships before, so she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know what to do. She just didn't want to get hurt or whatever. And so it just went away. What are we realizing by the things that we attain mentally, by the people that we attain, by any of those feelings that you've got to make up for something that's not so great about you by being born with? Now, if you were born with a deformation, with those people that have the enlarged faces and you could barely see one of their eyes or whatever, and people are staring at them their whole lives, and they got to go through that every single time they meet someone. They've got to go through, say they met a guy who can look past that. And I say that's a caring person. They can look past that. They can say, there's more to this person. I want to get to know this person. And even more so if that person is better looking than them and truly sees something about her or him and says, I want to get to know this person. Well, that person's got to go through how many people in their life to maybe get to that person? Every single time, right there in your face, that you're not perfect, you're not whole, and also too being stared at. So how about a person who's has mood swings? It's not on their face all the time. It's all on the inside mostly. And there is the interaction with the other people, and to get to know them and to be a part of something. They're going to get to know you whether you're telling the truth or not. It's not something that you're going to hide from them for long. What am I going to do, and what are you going to do so that you can not end up with emptiness? So that way you don't end up with a dead end on relationships. So you can go forward with someone. I'd say the biggest indicator is if they stick around. If they themselves are honest enough, for one, and they stick around. Who the hell is that going to be? Again, if they're only digging a little tiny bit and all they're wanting is just to feel good all the time, they're not going to get far with me. Because if you are always saying to someone else, oh, okay, and if they are not getting what they want all the time, all the time, or getting your attention all the time, or whatever. And then they feel, oh no, this isn't good enough for me. They'll just go get it from someone else. And that's impersonal. That's not where they're actually digging more about you. They're not really wanting to really know a whole lot more about you. They're just, the conversations are fairly dry in a way. Sometimes the conversations can be great, and the conversations are just mostly dry, and things are not really going really well. What do you got? What do you got after all that? Heartache, sadness, depression. A video I was watching about a female on that site, on the soft white underbelly channel. She was talking about how she always had a group of guys for different things that she could use them for. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about here. That's the worst thing to hear. And it's not so much that she's a female or a male. It's just that a human being is even saying this and admitting to this, which is okay because it's good to hear the truth about it. That she had a guy for dinners. She had a guy for sex. She had a guy for traveling. She had a guy that she could treat like shit. Her exact words. That's fucked up. She had a guy that would just listen to her or whatever. Her therapist that she got for free. How does that make you feel about living when you know that that's not far off from what most people are doing? If this is not anything that you do, if you are straight up with people, are you alone? Right now, if you're watching this, are you alone? Are you single, alone? Do you have difficulties in life because you are straight up with people? Or are you okay with having short-term everything in life just so you can feel good all the time to a certain extent? So say you always relied on your beauty and that's going to go away. So that means the other half of your life is going to be empty. Because you trained yourself all those years to be empty the rest of your life. And you're going to be bitter about it. Empty. Or a guy that used his accolades for the first part of his life. And then same thing. By the time he's halfway through his life, no one gives a shit. No one cares. It doesn't matter anymore. Or their looks. A guy or a female. It's either way. Their looks. Or their money. Or whatever. Sooner or later, it's just going to end up with, well, hang on. I mean, how many people have I been through and not a single person stuck around? Even though I bought them all kinds of stuff, that no one ever loved me. This is my point. This is where they end up. This is where a human being ends up with emptiness. Where I'm at, born-wise, it doesn't feel good to be empty. And I have times where I'm not empty. So my heart can be filled completely full with compassion, and I can be extremely loving. And then that emptiness feeling comes around anyways. So I can be with someone that loves me, and I can still feel emptiness. And then I communicate that to them. I communicate that to them beforehand. I say, I do have times when I shut off. I do have times of emptiness. I still love you. I still am capable of love. It's just this is what happens to my brain. This is what happens to my body. I'll go through times of depression. I'll go through times of a lot of love and compassion, and you're not gonna know what the hell's going on. I am letting you know from the get-go. I'm letting you know from the start that that is going to happen. So protect yourselves. And look at some of these things that I'm talking about and think about some of these things that I'm mentioning about what you fill your life up with. And what you really think that all these years of accumulating this or that is going to ask yourself, what is it ultimately going to attract to me? Because isn't that basically what life is? Is about doing doing this and this and this, so that way I'm more attractive, or people will come around if I do this, this, and that, and I can make them happy, and they can make me happy. I don't know if there's any getting around that as a living human being, unless you just say to yourself, I'm not going to have anything to do with anyone, and it doesn't matter. And if you go that route, your health is going to go, because you got to have people in your life to keep your health up. I know this. It's self-evident. So take care of yourselves. And take care of your hearts, and take care of your minds, and protect yourselves. And do everything you can to set yourself up to be someone that can be there for others and understand what the values are, in my opinion. Not just my opinion, and how I perceive life is to really understand what actually matters in life. That's my message. All right. Take care.